Welcome back to another Bloodline video. On today's video, we're going to be experimenting with new builds. So I hope you guys like it, and let's get to the first video. On the first build, we have the male Ascavar with the female Anubis or Almet, whatever you want to call it, the female Galabar, the male Kuna, and the female Thunderlord. On this team, I was aiming for a crowd control build that will put everything in one spot and then have the male Kuna freeze them over, and then have the Almat and the female Thunderlord pretty much finish them off. Your key champion in this build will be the female Thunderlord, as she pretty much goes off Hunter's ally to do massive damage every 5 seconds, so that she can slowly start chopping them up and killing them slowly. On this account, I think it's Morgana's account, we tested it on her second team, so this is a whole different build for her, and her second team is not that strong. Power gap is pretty much the same. On this other video is the same comp, but this time it's against somebody that's 120 million more. Same thing. As you can see in the bottom, the fire dog got destroyed absolutely because of the female Almet, which is what you're putting her in there for. So obviously you're gonna need rapid shot, you're gonna need agile, you're gonna need traits that are gonna buff and debuff your enemy. Well, they're gonna buff you and debuff your enemy, and you're going to go for some healing. In this case, we have the female Gali and we have the male Kuna, who does pretty decent healing. The female Anubis heals herself, while the Thunderlord, I believe she has very low healing, but she gets healed based off the Akuna and based off the Galabar. So you have survivability in that way, and it helps you pretty much survive a little bit longer, and it keeps you pushing a little bit further so that you can actually finish what you're doing. And in this case, it took a while, but they pretty much got to it. All the champions in this build are 50 vigor. They're not higher. They're just traded so that they can support each other, and then they can give each other a little buff. But as you can see, it's pretty much over. Easy fight for the team. They didn't lose. And that would be that team. On this build, this is, I believe, Nightmare versus Kitty's main team. A big power gap. Again, something different. Experimenting with the male Kavok, female Selphos, female Almet, and no water and sun. And the key of this build is basically just your two champions in the front, which in this case would be female Almet and the male Kavok, since they both basically deal damage based off enemy's constitution. So as long as they're together and they target one champion, there's a high chance that enemy champion will not survive. And here you can see how the male Kavok melts pretty much anything that he touches. So here he's going against the Soul Keeper, and as soon as his shield and he starts hitting him, yeah, the HP pretty much melts. And here he goes against the Water Sun again. Once the shield goes away and he turns into his warrior status, he just pretty much does the massive damage and drops the HP pretty fast. Here is a different build. This is again against Kitty, maybe 100 mil difference. Again, the female Almat and the male Kavok are doing their things. One is focusing on the left, one is focusing on the right. And once the Ascavar dies, then she and the female Almat will both focus on one champion at a time, and their HP will start melting. And I believe this was at the fence. I'm not really sure, but it's just, it takes a little bit of time. Once they get going, they're pretty much melting. Soul Keeper is here just to pretty much execute as fast as you can. I believe if you use this build against somebody who doesn't have Boko, it could be more efficient, as Soul Keeper is going to start executing as soon as you drop their HP. In this case, unfortunately, Nightmare doesn't have Boko, so it's a big disadvantage that he has. But as long as he keeps pushing and his champions keep surviving, he should be able to win. On this other video, it's going to be, I think, a defense from our very tough Guild Conquest round. I think this was round 9, the one that we just had. Here is Kitty attacking Nightmare, where her main team, she had energy, but again, she was very unlucky because her Ascavar targeted the right, and he got melted by female Almond together alongside the Kavoke. He died pretty fast, but Kate is a very strong player, so it's hard to get some champion survive. I mean, she is pretty much the biggest player in the game at the moment, and she has a very well organized team and very well built. So in here we can see as how as in defense, Nightmare is just pretty much supporting and defending pretty well. I think he ends up losing maybe another champion, and it's a 2v1 at the end. Not really sure. I don't remember. There were so many battles that I couldn't record them all, but looks like it's gonna be pretty much a 2v1 or 3v1. Well, her Soulkeeper just died, so yeah, it's a 3v1, and it was a pretty good defense. And here we have him. And here we have Morgana's main team versus Kitty. In this build, we have basically the typical Fenix, Soulkeeper, Exterion, or Eston, Water and Sun, and female Selphos. The build around this team is to cast as much damage as possible within the first 30 seconds, because if you don't manage to kill your opponent just because of the power difference, you're pretty much going to lose. Unfortunately for Kitty on this time, she didn't target her Selphos, so she ended up losing. Now, these are just a few fights. I am testing new champions, new coordinations, new traits, and everything. At the moment, we haven't had time to do anything because Guild Conquest has been crazy. We are in a 3 battle streak with Kitty. We have won 2, we lost 1. We're going to the 4th, which would be a little bit more complicated. So hopefully I can keep you guys posted, and see you guys in the next one.